Hi, everybody. This is Dear Mama Sal, and we are live on a Sunday afternoon, which means it's time for us to talk about coping with stress. And particularly today, I wanted to talk about how to reduce your stress by boosting your self-confidence. And that is something that we all need to work on, quite honestly, on a daily basis. And I'm going to have a few tips for you. And I will probably carry this on for a couple of weeks because there's so many little things that we can do. Not every one of them will suit you, but every now and then you're going to hear one and you go, I could do that. Yeah, that's something I could do. And if so, even if you sort of work on incorporating one a week, so grab a piece of paper and pencil or whatever you want to write with and make a list. And then just say, okay, I'm going to put these on little cards or something, and I'm going to keep them in my bathroom. And then every week I'm going to work on a new one. And that is a really great way to help yourself boost your confidence. So I would say that those people who have got confidence and who show it are people who work on it. It's confidence isn't something that we come about just by accident. Confidence is something that we develop by good habits and good rewards. Hi there, Jeannie. Good to see you. And so, you look at it and go, are you working on doing that? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I always like to bring this quote in every now and then. I don't know why it appeals to me so much. And it comes from my favorite monk who died last year, Thich Nhat Hanh. And he said, smile, breathe, and go slowly. How many of you just feel more relaxed hearing that? Just smile, breathe, and go slowly. Now, the reason I want to talk about that is because something happened to me this week that really got up my nose. I don't mind telling you, I got quite angry about it. Why? I received a letter, that actually was full of false information. And it wasn't fair, and you name it, and it was in there. And my blood pressure started to rise like this, and I thought, no, smile, breathe, and go slowly. And it was so funny because the way that I coped with it was I thought, well, maybe I'm losing it. Do any of you relate to that? It's just like, this is so wrong, legally wrong, that it's not even funny. And as I'm reading it, I'm getting more and more, and I thought, well, maybe I'm wrong. So for a moment, I second guessed myself. So what do I do in situations like that? I talk to people who know me really well and know whether I'm smart or not or whatever, And I started to phone around with my friends. And I said, okay, I want to read you something. I want to send you something, and I'd like you to read it out loud to me, because I wanted to watch, I tried to do it on video because I wanted to watch their reaction and to see if they had the same reaction that I did. All right. Because if they did, and that was my feeling, if they had the same reaction that I did, then the chances were I wasn't stupid after all. And I managed to get my very good friend Marnie on camera. And, it just was so funny to watch her because she started reading it very seriously. And she's going, blah, 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 blah. And then you just saw her go, you saw the eyes go, it's amazing how the eyes started, right? And then you could see she was trying not to laugh. And, it just made me so much happier just watching her. And then she just totally lost it. Uh, and I went, okay, I feel much better now. So I said to her, so I'm not wrong. And she said, this is the most asinine thing I've ever heard. And I went, I know. I said, I'm so glad you think so too. So what did that do for my self-confidence? Do you get it? All right. It's just like sometimes you need to talk to people who you consider, we've all got people that we talk to on a regular basis, which is really important. We got people who love us dearly and everything else. They know, they know whether you are stupid or not. And I mean no disrespect or judgment. And because what I really honestly had to know for myself was maybe I am losing it. Have you ever had that feeling? Maybe the two marbles I had, one of them disappeared overnight. Went for a little, walkabout or something. And it was just so amazing. All right, so hi to the regulars. Hi, Jeannie. Hi, Isabel. Hi, Jody. For those of you who don't know, Jody is our admin. And welcome to the broadcast, and let's have some fun. For those of you who are new, please make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter. By the way, there's a thumbs up thing here on YouTube. Really recommend, if I say anything that you like the sound of, give it a thumbs up. Let people know there's something in here worth listening to. The second thing I'd like you to do, if you would, is press the bell, because that'll let you know when I am doing broadcasts. That's another good reason to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. If I need to change a broadcast or I have an update on a piece of viewer news or something. For example, I think a lot of you know that Autumn is moving today, poor thing. And I just, thoughts and prayers, Autumn, if you happen to watch this later, like next year, our thoughts are with you, and we pray that it will be a peaceful move. So I just wanted to make sure you understand that the thoughts that you're going to hear from me are mostly my own. Some of it comes from my research, but it's just like I really get to the point where I think, people say to me, I'd love to have your attitude. And I go, really? You didn't see me when I woke up this morning. But, it's just like, I believe that we develop that and we maintain it. By the way, how many of you remember that I took a really big risk this year and bought myself a portable air conditioner, and I put it together and set it to turn on automatically? It nearly scared the living what's-its out of me about 10 minutes ago because it kicked in. I've got it set. Now, I mean, this makes everybody laugh, but I've got it set to only kick in at 78 degrees Fahrenheit. Can't remember what that is. Okay. All right. What is this? I'm at about 23 and in Celsius at the moment in the kitchen. And that's 74. So yeah, it's sort of close to that, right? So it would be about 25, I guess, that I've got it set for in my living room. Why? That's close to the windows, and that's where I sit. So what I did is I set it for 78. If the temperature gets to 78, hit the loud button on the air conditioner. And I was busy getting ready for the broadcast, and this noise came on that I didn't recognize. Well, you can imagine what my first thought was. There he goes again. So exciting. Anyway, so it came on, and it took me a while because it's a new noise, one I'm not used to. And, it was just like, oh, that's what the air conditioner sounds like. Okay, got it. And I've got a number of new noises this summer because I've also got the bug zapper in my house. I never knew how many bugs I had in my house until I got the bug zapper. And I didn't get a little one. I got a serious one, one of those ultraviolet light things. I am amazed how many times during the day I will hear this, and I just go, another one hit the dust, another one hit the dust, So why? Because when it first started to do it, it scared the living daylights out of me. And now I go, it's like, another one hit the dust. So I've made it sort of less stressful for me in that way. It's just like it amuses me. All right, I just wanted to make sure that we are aware that this has been a really difficult week for some people, and not everybody's having, as I said, for example, Amber moving. Can you imagine? And so I look at it and go, some of you are probably more, what can I say? More able to improve your self-confidence than others. And of course, I've managed to take out my quotes here for you. Hang on a second. I can't believe I did that to myself. Hold on a second. The reason is because there's some really nice quotes here, and I want to make sure I get to them. Good job I keep this. Oh, no. can't believe what I just did to myself. Hang on a second, everybody. I managed, I always have a link that I can quickly get to when I need it. And I managed to actually nuke the link. It's going to be one of those days. All right, there we go. Let's see if we can do it better this time. Lordy. This is not what I wanted, but apparently it's what we're going to get. I can do this. So what I wanted to first of all say is, what do you do? What do you do to boost your self-confidence? Let's start with the good news. Jeannie is saying, I was in quarantine for 9 days and had no COVID symptoms. So today I masked up and went grocery shopping at 7 a.m. Clever. I want to tell you, talking about COVID, I think some of you know that Lionel, Jodie's husband, got it and tested positive. And you can imagine how scary that was for both of them, because Jodie is immune system compromised, and very dangerous for her to get sick with something like that. And so we keep our fingers crossed, because as far as I know, did you test this morning, Jodie? I know you said you were going to, so I wondered if you actually did test. But I'm glad to hear how smart you were, Jeannie. I'm not surprised, that you were that smart. All right. So you didn't just quarantine for 5 days or whatever. You quarantined for 9. You do everything over and above. That's who you are. And then you masked up and went grocery shopping at a time where most people are still sleeping. Very clever. I personally consider 7 o'clock in the morning, I've just about fallen asleep by then. So, but I really admire the fact that you can do that. Joe Namath, right, I think football player, I think, said, when you have confidence, you have a lot of fun. And when you have fun, you can do a lot of amazing things. And so what I wanted to ask you is, how many of you agree with that when you're feeling confident, you have a lot more fun? I think some of you understand that we can do a lot of things to make ourselves smile. For example, I did manage to change my winter clothes to my summer clothes this week. A lot of, as I said, a lot of washing going on and stuff like that. But I've managed now to get it all put away again. There's one thing to get it out, then you got to change it over, then you got to wash the summer stuff before you put it in the cupboard, and then you've got to find hangers, because I found out I got more summer stuff than I thought. But find the hangers. But I found something that made me feel good. How do you like this? Oh, wait a minute. Maybe if I put it on, it'll make more sense. The reason I say that is because there's a story. Hang on a second. All right. So, excuse the black underneath it, which would not normally happen. Do I look different for wearing this? That's what I wanted to demonstrate to you. And the reason I say that is because it's lovely, isn't it, Janie? Yeah, I'm glad you like it too. It doesn't really need the black underneath it, so just imagine that isn't there. But and it's got the matching pants, which I'm not going to put on. Right? But the reason I wanted to put it on is twofold. Hi, are you? Oh, you're still in Portugal. Okay, Sandy, good to see you. All the best. I can hope you're having a good time. So the reason I wanted to show you this is this gave me such confidence when I was changing over the summer clothes. I actually made this probably 10 years ago. All right. And How many of you going, you made that cell? And I did. And that's why I'm saying that, it's funny. I really didn't. And you love the buttons too, Julie. Yeah, I did as well. And so, and it's beautifully made. I mean, I'm quite surprised when I look at it. But I made it for, I think, my sister's 70th birthday or something like that. Maybe different, but I sometimes the old things are still the good things. Do you know what I'm saying? That always makes me feel good when I wear it. I always feel elegant. I always feel accomplished. And the reason that I put it on and want to tell you about it is I haven't been able to wear it for 5 years. I haven't been able to wear it for 5 years. Yes, and Jeannie, that is the other point I wanted to say, right? And Jeannie's saying that is a style that endures the ages. Yep. And I actually know what I look good in, if you know what I mean. And so how many of you have got what I call a good, feel good outfit? I'm hoping that some of you do. A feel good outfit. Do you have one? Right, Jody. It's classic and it's sophisticated. Well, what can I say? I am. All right. And the thing is that in my mind, you probably saw me stumble there. My mind said, oh, you used to be. And the truth is, I am. I'm a classic and I can be very sophisticated. But on the other hand, I can be very childish as well. So it depends which one you see, you know. So remember that, right? Joe said, when you have confidence, you have a lot of fun. And when you have fun, you can do amazing things. And I want you to remember all the amazing things you've done in your life. And let's see what one accomplishment do you feel really good about? Okay. Sandy's saying that she had to extend her trip a few days in Portugal. Oh, shame. You still had things to do. Well, we miss you. And we're so glad that you popped in to say hello. I take that as a huge compliment to us. And, a safe journey home is what I would say. When do you expect to be home, Sandy? Tony Robbins said this. He said, the only thing that's keeping you from getting where you want to go is the story you keep telling yourself. That's a good one, isn't it? I was thinking about what one accomplishment am I really proud of? And it's difficult for me. I would think probably 26 years of training young people in leadership was the greatest accomplishment, over and above all the other things I did in my life. That to me was really an important one. And quite honestly, starting DearMamaSal and just doing it for the love of doing it has been a very important one. And as I said, we will celebrate 10 years of doing it in August. So that's a good one. Sandy, I'm presuming then that you won't be joining us next Sunday if you're only coming back on Saturday. You probably will need a couple of days to find out what day it is. So we wish you a safe trip home and know that we love you dearly and we look forward to having you back in the broadcast. You missed some fun cooking. I don't know if you caught up on it, but we had some fun cooking on Friday. And I had some fun eating. I want to tell you those little devils on horseback. They were so tasty. And there was something about the bacon and then the sweetness of the prune and then getting to the cream cheese on the inside. And a day later, because I had a couple of them that night and I had a couple of them last night. And I'm going, why haven't I done these before? All right, so Jody's saying, I'm proud that I can find ways to still cook and bake from scratch. It's been a challenge, with all her mobility issues and everything, but very worthwhile for the joy that it brings. For the joy that it brings, all right? And that is the same thing. You've heard me talk time and time again about the fact that I have had, good night, Sandy. I have had a really interesting couple of years of trying to learn to grow things. And I think you all saw, my big basil that I'm growing in my Insta garden. But guess what started to come up this week? I've been, it's dripping, people. Watch the keyboard. Look at that. I decided to try growing my lettuce in there, and I will keep track of that, but that's actually looking quite good. Maybe that's what I've been doing wrong. So now, to me, as you know, growing these seedlings is a challenge for me. Can I keep them alive? And some give me great confidence and others don't. You all know that, whoops, taking the bottom of a celery, a bunch of celery, just taking that bottom nub and putting it in my self-watering system, and to see it grow like this. How many of you know that really builds my confidence? But it took me 2 years to get it right, to find a way of doing it where it worked. But I think that's looking pretty healthy, don't you? And all I do is I change the water in here once a week. Or you can sell it. It's about time I change the water. So I look at these things and go, I do things on a daily basis that make me feel good. Now, I also am a realist. So each one I find that, for example, I went outside to my garden yesterday, and I was planting my rose tree, the yellow one, the new yellow climbing rose tree bush that I got. And I looked down to see something that was at my feet, and I'm not sure what it was, but it's not looking healthy. And I went, okay, that one didn't work. Another one bites the dust. Maxwell Maltz, and I read a lot of Maxwell Maltz in my 20s. He said, low self-esteem is like driving through life with your handbrake on. One of the things you've heard me say time and time again, and it's not very polite, is that it can't be that difficult if men do it, right? But you know what it helped me do when I had that self-affirmation? How many of you have affirmations, positive affirmations that keep you going? All right, and Jeannie's letting us know one of my accomplishments was being president of the state organization of the Maine Diocesan, I think, Council of Catholic Women. All the city Catholic women's groups are under this umbrella. I made sure the ladies had fun. Yes, when you've got volunteers, it's a really good idea to let them have fun. One of the things I used to do when I was training the young people, I also made sure that I trained them in how to run meetings and how to do all those sort of things. And so I had them on my committee. I had young people on my committee. And when I first did that, the old farts rolled their eyes and said, what do they know about it? And I said, they're going to learn. They're going to learn what it's like to organize things. And it was quite simple. I always made sure I had incredible finger food for them. All right. So if you bothered to turn up, you knew you were going to get some great food and stuff you could just nibble while we were talking. But it was just like a smorgasbord of choices. So I knew that for young people, that's always a big thing. But the other thing was, whoever arrived last had to take the minutes. Now, if you don't know what the minutes are of a meeting, it's the person who sits down and writes down all the decisions that are made. And, it was so funny because, young people don't respect time very well. But when they know if they're the last one in that door, they're going to be taking those minutes. You'd be amazed how prompt they became, and it was just like, and I can remember this one guy came in last and way last. And I said, okay. And, the guy that was presently the last one, I said to him, hand it over. And I said, you're taking the minutes. He said, I don't know what that is. And I said, the guy before you will explain. And we'll just, chit chat a little bit while you get up to speed. the interesting thing was, do you understand that what I was really giving them was the knowledge on how to run a meeting, the knowledge about how to organize things, the knowledge about the fact that nearly everything goes wrong and you have to be able to think on your feet and have a plan B. So everything that we organized, I say to them, okay, that's if it goes well, that's what we'll be doing. What about if that doesn't work well? What's our backup plan? And they'd all go, but we're going to make it work. I said, oh, I know that. But life gets in the way sometimes. So do we have a backup plan? And then somebody said, what about we do X, Y, and Z? I said, okay, let's have that as our backup plan. That sounds good. You know, when they phone me later on in life, you know, maybe 20 years, 10, 20 years later, and believe you me, they have. And they said, Sal, the greatest thing you ever did for me was to teach me about things go wrong. And do you have a plan B? They said, you know, if I think of the one thing that has lasted me the longest of all the things you taught me in business, that never expect a plan A to work. Make sure you got a plan B that you're, you know, ready to drop into place if anything goes wrong. And, you know, to me, that's a great accomplishment where I can be able to say that we did that. Yeah, Jenny's saying that, you know, in that group that she was in, that they did many good things for people and they sold pins and gave money for breast cancer groups and so forth. Yeah, I'm pretty certain. How many of you volunteer? You know, and this doing something above yourself, right? Something over and above yourself. People always ask me, why do you do Dear Mama Sal? And I said, because I genuinely do believe it helps people. And, you know, I honestly believe that it helps people. And if it helps one person each week, it is worth doing. Because we're talking about stuff that we need to talk about. And we're teaching people that life doesn't go easily all the time. And we're making sure that they know how to cope. And I think that's really important. Jody's saying, I have plans A, B, C, and D now because of what you have taught me. So, yeah. I assure you that the quotes I got in front of me now are not the ones I was going to do. So we're going to have the fun of that later on. One of the things I remember on the things that the tips that I was looking at, one of the things they said is make sure you have coffee. All right. Now, those of you who know me well know that my wake-up plan, you know, is get up, go to the washroom, make coffee right there, and then go and sit down and look at the emails and things. And, you know, I actually don't start to function until I'm ready for my second mug. And sometimes that's quite late in the day. But, you know, it's just like I know my system. My brain actually doesn't really start going properly. And I remember all those years when I was working where I'd be getting up out of bed late and then rushing to get dressed. And, you know, when I think about it, I was going into the car, you know, but I would have had my first cup of coffee. So it's what it said. The other thing is, I thought this was really nice. How many of you saw this rose on Friday? And it looks different today, doesn't it? How many of you saw this rose on Friday and thought, isn't that beautiful? And smiled? Did any of you wonder whether it's got a bouquet? It did. It doesn't now for some reason, but it definitely did. And one of the things that I want you to know is looking at a flower. All right, Isabel did. Thank you, Isabel. Yeah. One of the things that will make you feel better every day is looking at something that gives you pleasure. They really recommend that you actually sleep with flowers in your bedroom. I actually have mine in my bathroom. All right, so I've got a rosebud in my bathroom. Why a rosebud? Well, like this rosebud, you can see it, all right? It's the same as that one. I'm watching it start to open up. I don't know why that gives me pleasure, but it makes me feel good. It broke when I put the rose tree in the car. This broke off, and I went, "You're not going anywhere." I'm putting you in some nice water with some, right? Remember, these flowers are from my chives, and I'm just going to watch you grow if you choose to. And these are some pinks from my deck. And so, can you imagine? And I've got a similar thing like this in my bathroom. So every morning, the first place I go is to my bathroom, and I look at the flowers and go, "Good morning. So you're looking perky this morning." And this is another one that broke off. All right, these couple of buds here. Do I think they will develop? I don't know. But will I nurture them in case they do? Yep. But life's life. So if they don't eventually open up, it'll be fine. I'm happy. I like to think I gave them a chance. And how many of you, as Jeannie was saying, how many of you like it when you can contribute to the betterment of the world in some way? And please do it in some way. It doesn't matter what your way is fine. Yes, Jeannie's saying, it's a symbol of life, smell, sight. Yes, it uses the senses. All right. And you can probably imagine that I have literally stood like this and looked at it and touched it. And, by the way, it's got wicked thorns on it, which is probably why it was still in the store. But and I've got scars to prove it. There. Oh, there's another one there. Can you see it? I don't know if you can see it. Anyway, I've got a nice thorn scratch there. But do I mind? No, because I get the reward. Venus Williams said, just believe in yourself. Even if you don't, pretend that you do, and at some point you will. How many of you understand I always used to teach the young kids, not young kids, but young adults something. And I used to say to them, act as if you are successful. If you want to be employed, dress as if you are a business person. Don't dress as a school kid. Dress as a business person. Be on time, really 10 minutes early. Why? Because that's what responsible business people do. They don't sort of turn up round about 10 o'clock. If it's a 10 o'clock appointment, they turn up at 10 to 10 to make sure they've got time to go through whatever they need to go through, or if the parking is difficult or whatever, they plan to be there 15 minutes early. That's what successful, confident people do. They don't see it as a waste of time, because what do they do if they get there on time and early? They read, all right, or they start working on a letter or something, or email, whatever it is. They don't see that as a waste of time. They see that as essential. All confidence is acquired, developed. Would you agree that nobody is born with confidence? I had a fascinating chat last night with my friend Marnie, and she has rescued yet another dog from the pound, and this one called Bobby. It was so funny because I said, do I get to see him? And she turned the iPad that she was working on so I could, and I talked to him and called him by his name. And it was so cute because you could see him just go, who was that? And then he came towards the noise. The voice he didn't recognize. He came right up to talk to me. And then I saw Grover in the background. Some of you have seen pictures of Grover because he's just so adorable. And I went, hi, Grover. And Grover, also looked up, and I went, that gave me great joy. Jenny's saying, my father was looking for a job. He arrived for the first job appointment. He was asked to take everybody's name. Oh, he arrived first. So the employer asked him to take everybody else's name, phone number, and address. And he presumably did it. And he got the job. Why? Because he proved he was, he could take instruction. And he also proved that he could follow through. I love that story. Awesome. How about this one? Is this true of you? Too many people, Malcolm Forbes said this, too many people overvalue what they are not and undervalue what they are. I found that true of Jodie when I first met her. She undervalued her worth to anybody. I made sure I fixed that in a hurry. Um, right? And it was just like so interesting that she thought she could not be of value to somebody like DearMamaSal. And I look at it, and I don't know how many years Jodie has now been an admin. She would know, because she records things like that, as does Yvonne, in her mind. You know, she can tell you it's so many years. But all I know is my life has been so much easier since she's been in it, and so much more fun. And so, you know, I look at it and go, I could see great value. Jeannie, the way you step up whenever Jodie is unable to, you know, tells me a lot about you, and I'm very, very grateful to it. You know, for both of you for what you do. Approximately 4 years, Jodie's been doing the job. But you know, it's funny because I was saying to Jodie, the rather strange thing is the very first person I picked to be an admin was Emily. That's the name I was looking for, Emily. And you know, M, not the one in Ireland. She lived in the States somewhere. I want to tell you that M, at the time that I made her my admin, was 16. And I remember her saying to me, "Why would you pick me? I'm only 16." And I said, "Yeah, but you got a brain of a 30-year-old." And she said, "What?" And I said, "You've got a brain as sharp as a tack. You process information very quickly. You respond very quickly. You participate in the broadcast in a way that tells me you actually enjoy what I do. Therefore, you are the ideal person." And the other thing is, one of your crowning glories to me is you don't suffer fools very well. Which means that, you know, I will feel sorry for any trolls that come in. In those days, we used to have a lot because we weren't on YouTube. So, you know, it was a really important one for me. So thank you. And I want to tell you that anybody who takes their time to make me look good, right? It's just like, how good is that? How many of you remember my story about my website? My website was completely screwed. I hope I'm allowed to say that. We'll find out what. Anyway, it was. And I knew that it needed some work done that was way above my pay grade. And I knew that if I asked the web people to do it, it would cost me a fortune. And I didn't have that fortune. And as you heard, I just said to myself, actually, I did a little prayer because, you know, that's always a good idea. Please let me know whether I should keep the website. You know, maybe the fact that it's broken the way that it is a sign that I shouldn't be continuing it. So that's, I always say that, you know, if you would like me to continue using it, because I haven't used it for about over a year, I would think, because it's been broken. And, you know, as I said, okay, if you want me to continue use it, help me fix it, knowing that I don't have the, you know, a lot of money here. And the incredible thing is that two different people came out of the woodwork. One did something, but it didn't fix it. But the second one, thank you, Matthew. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The second one noticed it was broken and wrote to me and said, "Hey, do you need some help fixing it?" I'm going, "Yes." Complete sentence. "Yes, please, and thank you." And then he went on to tell me what he was going to do to fix it. And it was way beyond my pay grade. And now he's writing to me and tell me, you know, he's changed the layout and done this and done that. And I'm going, that's exciting. Maybe I can start using it again. How kind of you. And I said, please let me know how much you owe me. I owe you. And I haven't got the response yet, but you understand, I don't want to presume I got that for free because that's my ethics. My ethics are important to me. Are yours important to you? You know, it's like I don't want to presume you did all that time. I know how much time that took. I don't want to presume you put in that time for free. Now, if he tells me how much I owe him, I may have to say, can I pay that over the next couple of months? But such is life. How many of you know that when my shed started to leak, I was not a happy person? Why? I know I've got to get that fixed. Why? I've still got a lot of stuff in that shed. And I, again, said, I need, somebody that's going to do a good job and will do it at a good price. And guess what? My neighbor said, oh, I've got just the guy. And he's doing it on Wednesday, I hope. I hope. And the price is horrific, but it needs to be done. When I say the price is horrific, it's probably a very good price. But, it's when you haven't got the money, it's horrific. And again, I'm going to have to make plan B on how to pay it. I'm very grateful I've got a high limit on my Visa card. Mark Twain, who said a lot of good things in his life, I got to tell you. He said, whatever you say it with conviction. Whatever you say, good or bad, say it with conviction. It's amazing what it does for your self-esteem to be able to say, I actually don't agree with you. But that's fine. We're all entitled to an opinion. It's just like, do you understand that having an opinion is not a bad thing? All right, so Jeannie's saying, we just had a fellow come to spray for ants outside. We told him we also owed for the last time, and he said, no, we've already been paid. We wanted to make sure because of our ethics. Isn't that wonderful? You see, and would you want to refer that person to other people? But how about this guy that coming to do my roof? He said, I'll come by tomorrow and put a tarp over for you. That was on Friday. It still hasn't got a tarp. And he's coming on Wednesday to fix it. Well, it didn't have a tarp when I went to check earlier. All right. Now, Thomas Carlyle said this, and you know this to be true. Nothing builds self-esteem and self-confidence like accomplishment. How many of you are playing the spring cleaning game and know that to be true? All right. However small the one spring cleaning thing that you do. And by the way, what we're trying to do at DearMamaSal is to do one spring cleaning thing every week. And we're working our way around the house. We've got all year to get around the house, but one spring cleaning thing a week is a really important thing. Why? Because if you keep it up, just one thing a week, one small thing a week, by the end of the year, you're going to realize you've got a very clean house. All right. And I also need to tell you from my experience that you probably will do more than one. And by the way, a spring cleaning thing is something you don't automatically do. All right. Like you get up and clean the countertops or whatever, that's part of your day. I'm talking about opening up a drawer and taking everything out, cleaning the bottom of the drawer, putting everything back, but only trying to put half of it back. That's spring cleaning. One drawer somewhere. Amazing how it works. So that feeling of accomplishment. How many of you know every year when I pull this out, every year when I pull it out, because it comes out every year, I have a feeling of accomplishment. I go, you know something, Sal? That's amazing that you were able to make that. But you did, and it looks beautiful, and it still looks beautiful today. The only thing I haven't got, and I know it needs, is the pearl choker to go with it. Wouldn't that look pretty? With the pearls down, big pearl buttons down here, and then a pearl chokers. But the way I live today, where would I ever wear it? How about this one? How many of you agree with this? Confidence comes from not always being right, but from not fearing being wrong. You see, that's an emotionally intelligent person. When I read that letter this week, my eyes rolled because I'm going, that isn't even legally correct what they're saying. And, believe me, I know. And yet, what I was prepared to be wrong, right? That was the thing. So I said, before I react to the person who wrote the letter, let me double check. And by the way, I have now written to the controlling body to say to them, could they give me their legal definition of these two words? Because the person who wrote me this letter has no idea what those two words mean. So I said, could you please send me your legal definition of what those two words mean? And I sent them the letter, and I said, because if you read this letter, you will understand why I need them. And I can't wait to hear their reply on Monday, if I get a reply on Monday. Vince Lombardi, football coach, said, confidence is contagious. Would you agree? So is a lack of confidence. A lack of confidence is also contagious. How many of you come to the broadcast just so you feel a bit brighter sometimes? I know some of you, when you watch the cooking things, you just come for some inspiration, right? And I realize I don't have to do a perfect meal because you just want to get inspired to do something. I wonder how many of you will try the devil's on horseback. And how did I come up with that idea? I realized I had quite a few prunes around, and I thought, how can I utilize those? And at the same time, I got a package of fresh bacon, thick cut bacon, and I went, I know what I'm going to cook. And I do recommend them. Very tasty. I'm going to make more. But have you ever been around somebody who lacks confidence and sort of got sucked into that negativity? It happens. Right? I want to say that one of the most difficult things for us to do is to be true to ourselves. What happens to us so often is we have an opinion and then people start shooting it down. And then have you noticed you just sort of shrink into yourself because you go, maybe I was wrong. But you don't say, hey, maybe I'm wrong. It was just my opinion. You asked for it and I gave it. So, do you always beat people over the head if they give you their opinion? I will say that to somebody. You asked for my opinion. I gave it. Why did you attack me? Because you're wrong. And I said, okay, I'll do a bit more research. Knowing that I wasn't. So it's just like, to me, it's a really important sort of part of me, I believe, right, is being okay with being wrong. I don't have to always be right. I like it when I am, mind you. Brian Tracy, a very well-known motivational speaker, said, confidence is a habit that can be developed by acting as if you already had the confidence that you desire to have. Jody, how often do you act as if you are totally well, or your version of that, just so that you can get things done? Jeannie's saying, I have a friend who lacks confidence, and sometimes I ignore her negativity. Sometimes I give a positive response to help her. All right. So, but have you ever felt negative and somebody gave you a positive response and that made you feel worse? I just got to ask that one, Jeannie. I'm not saying that it did or that it would, but I can remember there were times when I was feeling really bad about myself and somebody would give me a positive spin on it. One of the things that perhaps we can look at is, and we did touch on this recently, right? What are the right responses for these sort of things? And I understand that, the way you do it probably did help her. And that's really important. But it's okay for people to be negative. Don't make them feel small if they're, honest about feeling negative. It's a very important thing not to make people feel small. I've done it. C.S. Lewis said, "We are what we believe we are." Autumn, never expected to see you in today. You've already moved and it all went well, and you still came to tell us. Oh, I cannot tell you how touched I am by that. I really cannot tell you how touched I am that on moving day, you made the time to come and say hello. You made my day. And I'm certain the viewers who know you will feel the same. That what a wonderful, kind, you just had to tell me. I know. Have you been here long, Autumn? Just got on. Look, Autumn, see what I found when I unpacked my summer clothes. And what I was saying to people is I can get into it now for the first time in um, 5 years. But better than that, I made this outfit, right? It's got the matching pants here. But I made this, and whenever I wear it, I feel confident. Why? Because I really look stunning in it. So now, Autumn, from my experience, unpacking takes longer than a day. Unpacking takes longer than a week. Unpacking takes longer than a year. Unpacking takes as long as it takes. And from my experience of having done it twice in 1 year, remember, I had got most of it unpacked, and then I had the fire, everything got taken out of the house again, and then I had to unpack it a second time. I still have 10 boxes 18 months later, but I'm not going to work on them. But I know what's in them, so I'm not worried. So unpack, hopefully you've got the rest of your life to unpack those things. Yeah, Jeannie's also saying, yeah, longer than a year. Yeah. And by the way, you know what made me feel so much better, Autumn, is when I said to my neighbor, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. It's been a year and I still not unpacked. She said, you got to be joking. I only finished unpacking last year. I've been here 7 years. And I went, okay, I feel much better now. Thank you. And Autumn saying, I'm eating vegetables and dip and resting. That is so good. Such great self-care. And to know that you are worthy of sitting on your butt, eating vegetables and dip and going, we did it. And not worry about the unpacking. It's very messy in here, but the basic stuff is already set up and then some. We had good help. So the I remember talking to one person who was a very laid back sort of guy, married to a controlled by list's wife. And they were about to move. And one of the things I said to him is whatever you do in the week before, the day of, and the time afterwards, please do not go on what you think you need to be doing. If you want to have a happy move, ask your wife what she would like you to work on. And if she said, get into the garage and get it packed up, do it quiet, and enjoy that. Why? She doesn't want you near her. That's the message. Right? And it doesn't mean she doesn't love you. It's just you will get under her feet and you will drive her insane. And then if you're really smart, quietly order up meals and, treats. And then if you get to the end of the day of packing up, tell her, oh, I didn't order food for us today. Come with me. I'm taking you to the beach. We're going to sit on the beach and eat ice cream. And he said to me afterwards, it was the best move they ever did. And he did pull her out of the house and said, come on, we're going to the beach to have ice cream. And she said to him afterwards, I was so angry because I have so much to do. But she said, you're so right. This is the best thing we could do. Autumn is saying, my husband and I are tired, but we're beaming. We love this house and this neighborhood is awesome. Neighbors have already come and said hello. Isn't that wonderful? I got a feeling some of mine are coming to say goodbye. Um, I'm not sure who said this, but it said, if you really put a small value upon yourself, rest assured that the rest of the world will not raise your price. So if you think badly of yourself, don't be surprised if other people do as well. But if you know what you're good at and are proud of it, if you know you make a difference in the world, it's okay. If it's just like, do what gives you confidence, and then it's okay to be confident about those things. Does that make sense? I mean, the fact that a viewer would be moving and still took the time to come in. By the way, what you missed, Autumn, if you did miss it, was Sandy came in from Portugal. She's over in Portugal sorting out her father's estate over there. And she even made the time to pop in and just say hello. I mean, to talk about, am I touched? Yes. It's thank you for making my day. Thank you for making my day. Jack Nicklaus, the golfer, said confidence is the most important single factor in this game. And no matter how great your natural talent, there is only one way to obtain it and sustain it, and that's work. Autumn says, oh, that's great. You're loved, Sal. Oh, I know I am. I know I'm loved, and I hope you guys know you are as well. And I hope, against all hopes, that what I do does make a difference in your life to some degree. Norman Vincent Peale said, action is the great restorer and builder of confidence. Action is a great restorer and builder of confidence. Inaction is not only the result, but also the cause of fear. When I got this letter that I know is just so, grossly incorrect, you can be sure that I got pretty darn angry for a second. And then I went, okay. Okay, now what am I going to do? And I'm not writing back, because this person, with all due respect, and I know it's a judgment, but this person is stupid. Not to write something about a legal issue and not know what the legalities are, is stupid, right? And to quote a part of a contract that is totally irrelevant to what she's saying and wrong, because she's saying and I am enclosing this to prove the point. Well, guess what? The things she included and highlighted was wrong, and I'm going, anybody can call up, and she was cherry picking what she wanted to be true, and it's not what it said. I had to laugh when Marnie read the bit that was sent to me. She said, the first line says it all. The first line tells her she's wrong. And I said, I know. All right, Autumn's saying, I have to go. Bye, Autumn. But say a prayer that I find our fitted sheets. Thank you for celebrating our move. Autumn, I want to give you permission. Are you ready for this? You will not die, nor will your mattress be ruined if you happen to sleep one night without a fitted sheet. Believe me, I know. This is called, haven't found the sheet yet, but I have found the comforter. And let me go to sleep. Yes, and St. Anthony, Jeannie's saying, I pray St. Anthony will help you out. I want to tell you, I call upon St. Anthony, the patron saint of lost things. I call upon him so often, it's not even funny. I just give up and go, okay, St. Anthony, you know where it is. Perhaps you could give me a clue. And, how many times do you walk around and you lift up something there's no way that it is connected to what you were trying to find. You lift something up and you go, oh, apparently that's why I needed to lift that up, because there it is. What are you doing there, you stupid thing? Mark Twain again. All you need in this life is ignorance and confidence, and then success is sure. Some of you may have heard me tell this story. And if you haven't, then listen up. It's a story about somebody I knew. No, yes, I was being taught by a professor in one course, and he told this story. He said, I got to tell you something. I was teaching a course on how to wind a solenoid. And he said, I gave the class some homework to do, which was really a trick. Because if you knew your stuff, you knew what I gave you was impossible. Therefore, you didn't have to do the homework. Makes sense. All right. And he said, next week, it was a night class, right? And next week, he said, everybody came back. And he said, how many of you did the homework? And one guy put up his hand. And he said, well, before I get to you, the rest of you, why didn't you do the homework? And they all said, because it was impossible. Therefore, didn't do it. Oh, what made it impossible? And then they quoted why you couldn't do it the way that he'd suggested. And then he said, okay, fine. How about you? Did you do it? He said, yeah, I did it. He said, let me come and see what you did. Can you imagine this? And he looked at what this student had done and realized that it was groundbreaking, didn't take credit for himself. He took that youngster by the hand and took him to the patent office. By the way, he made sure that it worked. He took him to the patent office and made him take out a patent on that design. And I believe I'm correct in saying that that was the basis for the Learjet engine in subsequent years. Does that give you goosebumps? Talk about somebody with ethics. Talk about a teacher that, yeah. I spoke to him and he said, something, Sal? I know an awful lot of my colleagues would have done it themselves, taken the idea and gone and registered it. But he said, imagine the brain on this child that I hadn't realized, that he took an impossible task and made it possible. Genius. But you know something, Sal? Up until that moment, we all thought he was the most stupid guy in the room. For various reasons. But he was stupid enough to find the answer. You see, if he'd been smart, he would have known it was impossible. If he had been smart, he would have known it was impossible and not had any homework. And the teacher said to him, by the way, how long did it take you? He said, all night. I didn't sleep. Actually, it took him all week. He said, I haven't slept very much. He said, I understand why. I would like to think that when that design came up and was used commercially and he got all the royalties for it, that the teacher was so happy. I would also like to hope that when the kid, or then young adult, got the royalties, that he, tithed back 10% to the teacher that made sure that he registered it. I like to think that. I didn't ever ask him that. Part of me goes, I should have done. Maybe not. Dr. Robert Anthony said, if you have anything, you can have anything you want if you're willing to give up the belief that you can't have it. Right? You can have anything you want if you want to give up the belief that you can't have it. It just may take a bit longer than you expected. It may take a bit longer than you expected. How many of you know that one of the things that I consider to be one of my greatest talents is patience? Right? How many flowers will I kill before I find that I can make this one grow? By the way, I wanted to just mention it, and I think I mentioned it to Jody, but how many of you remember I planted Spike the spinach a couple of years ago? This is Spike. He's not looking brilliant, But can you believe that 2 years later, he's got a heck of a thick stem to him. Hi, Spike. So to me, it's about, yes, Jeannie's quoting, imagine what you want and it will come to you. Now, does that mean if you've had your legs amputated and you imagine that you want new legs, that you will get new legs growing? No. But it means that you might end up with prosthetic legs that work on you as well as, as nearly as well as your own. In other words, you can get up and walk and do things, and maybe even, I've seen people with prosthetic legs actually dance, all right? And that's pretty amazing to me. Theodore Roosevelt, ex-president of the United States, said, each time we face our fear, we gain strength, courage, and confidence in the doing. I think that's a really important thing to know, that having confidence means facing your fears. All right. You can understand that when I got this letter and I'm going, I need to find out the facts first. I've learned that. It's my emotional intelligence now. Don't respond. It's not worth responding to, quite honestly. But let's get the facts. Keep the letter, document when you got the letter, keep the envelope that shows it was delivered to you, because it says to all concerned, and it was delivered to me. So I am one of those people. And then what I said is, now what do I need in order? First, I need to make sure of my facts, that I am correct in my understanding. And how do I do that? I get hold of people who legally know the meaning of those words. And once I've got that in writing, then I will take the next step. And I know that this is so wrong that I'm going to call for a written apology. How dare she write that, not knowing what those words meant? Anyway, so there we go. Michael Jordan said, you have to expect things of yourself before you can do them. Jody, you got a heck of a hit, probably a year ago now, when you heard you had a new problem. And I am pretty certain your first reaction was a very normal one. But then you did something really amazing, in my view, which is you appear to say to yourself, it is what it is. Now, how do I live with this? And systematically went about doing everything you could to keep healthy. Even though this new thing that came along would have had most people just cowering in the corner and going, well, that's it. I am so proud of you. And every time I hear you say that you've been in the kitchen and you cooked up another thing and your poor freezer is overflowing, I go, that's because you keep getting up and doing things. Good for you. Jeannie says, I am an amateur graphologist. That's somebody who studies handwriting. And she said, I found that persons with good prosthesis don't show it in their handwriting. Interesting. Handwriting mimics body movements at times. Yeah. Have you ever noticed the handwriting of bank tellers? All right. Anybody interested in people that can tell things about people by the way they write? Okay. There we go. I make sure I keep writing things because I want to find out if I'm healthy. Jeannie will understand that. Okay, so here we go. This is difficult to write on a whiteboard, but from my writing, Jeannie, and your knowledge of graphology, what do you know about me? Now, the reason, and I want to see what Jeannie comes up with. But one of the things I noticed, and I'm just going to talk around this while Jeannie decides what she wants to say about my writing. One of the things I noticed, have you noticed that bank tellers have very open writing? Very open. Bank tellers don't write like this. They seem to have very open writing. That amazed me, how many of them had very easily read writing and something that was, pretty creative and open. And one of the interesting things to me is that's not really the way I normally write my name, but never mind. It's enough for Jeannie to make comment on it. I just want to see. One of the things I want to tell you is the bit how many of you know I'm a pretty open person? And you can probably see that from my writing of my name, Sally. But here is the thing. This is the bit you want to know, because you probably don't know what that says about me. Okay? And let me just tell you. Oops, I rubbed out the wrong thing. All right, so watch out. Anybody that underlines what they say and then this is somebody who, when they make a decision, they mean it. Yeah, Jeannie's saying your handwriting is large, therefore fairly relaxed. High ego, that's the capital S, good. Emphatic, undeniable, all right? So what Jody knows more than most of you, because she deals with me more, all right? She deals with me every day. She knows that I am pretty open and friendly, but boy, she also knows you push me too far, I come out with this. That's the decision. Now, here's the interesting thing, Jeannie. What about my why? What does that tell you about it? All right. So I go, I didn't underline it this time because I didn't have enough room. It's too small a sample. The interesting thing is that I do my why like this. Do you see that it doesn't come back up again? That tells me, or from my studying, it says that I have moments where I get depressed. All right. And I don't immediately spring out of it necessarily. So I did a broadcast once a long time ago. Maybe I should do another one of famous people's signatures and what it said about them, if you happen to know. I want to tell you that I'm, if any of you are interested, I'll do another one. And I picked a cross section of very famous people with their signatures, and then, a graphology thing about how that meant that. Yeah, Jody's saying, I remember that broadcast. It was such fun. I think we should do another one. What my greatest joy was when I was a professional speaker, I nearly always ended up at a table with people, and quite often it was a round table, and we all had to write our names, on a tent card. What's a tent card, people? You probably know. It's something that looks like this. Okay. This is called a tent card, and it stands up, and then you needed to write your name. And I remember one speech I was giving, I was at this table with about 10 women, and they all wrote their, signature, their name on the card. And what I did was I looked at one of them and I said, boy, that signature tells me a lot about you. And she said, really? And I went, oh, yeah. Want to know what I know? And she went, yeah. And I said, no, you need to say it with more body language attached to it, more passion attached to it for me to actually talk about it. And she said, yeah, actually, I do want to know. And the whole table went forward. And I said, okay, from the capital, whatever, this is what I know about your ego. By the way you crunch the rest of the words up together, you are not nearly as confident as you pretend to be. But you teach yourself to be confident, and then you're not quite so sure. And by the way, if you haven't noticed it already, if you've got a lawyer, you will quite often find that they'll write their name like this, and then this will happen, all right? The last letter comes all the way back and then forward again. Why? They are people who recheck their work. Does that make sense to you? That they come back right away to the beginning and then go over it again. And then normally a full stop, which is, yeah, I've checked it, it's okay. All right, Jeannie's saying, I told 2 women 2 different times that they had a lump in their breast from their handwriting, and both said yes. Yeah, it's amazing what you can tell. All right, so Jody's saying, may I ask both of you, Sal and Jeannie, what does it mean if someone signs their name with all lowercase letters, no capitalization of the first letter of their name? Well, think about that. What did Jeannie immediately say about me? My big capital letter says I have a big ego. All right. Actually, she probably worded it more politely. Your handwriting is large and therefore fairly relaxed, right? High ego in the emphatic, a high ego in the S, all right? Big capital letter at the first name, and then emphatic, strong underneath. I make a decision, I keep to it. So that would be my judgment of it. Anybody that has their capital letter the same size as the rest, or does all lowercase. What does it say to you, Jody? Let me see, because I think you're smarter than you know. What is your feeling when you look at it? We're definitely going to do this again. Because, quite often, your judgment when you see it is, that's unusual. And then you look at it, and did it feel uncomfortable when you saw it? What's your reaction? Jody's saying depression or not high self-esteem. Yeah. We had a situation, Jody, where you and I signed a card, and I digitally took the 2 signatures and put them into a card for Lauren. Remember that? Right? And would you agree that what was amazing was how similar our writing was? And you still ask me, why on earth did I pick you as an admin? That's the funny thing. Why? We have very similar traits, right? Yeah, it made you smile because I was more like you than you knew, all right? So the thing is, when I sat at that table, by the way, when I told the first person, and they're going, you're absolutely right. Other people were going, read mine. And I went round all 10. And then at the end, I said, I could be wrong. They're all going, no, you weren't. Now my phone's gone to sleep. Now I've got to start it up again. Isn't it amazing, though, when you think about it? We are open book. And guess what? When I was employing people, one of the reasons I want a handwritten note, if possible, or a letter, is because it would tell me a lot about that person. Right? Handwriting will tell you a lot about the person. So that's why a lot of companies will say, write a covering letter in your handwriting, write it, don't type it. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, to be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. Be who you are. Don't pretend to be somebody else. All right, Jeannie's making a good point. She said, if I see awful depression or mental illness, I may not speak of it. No, quite right. You know something, Jeannie? When I was doing that thing with the women that day, one person had a real problem. And I just said to her, I know you've got a problem. I'm just not going to talk about it. You know you've got a problem. And I know, I know from your writing that you have it. So, it's okay. And because it's for her to tell people, not for me. All right. And she said, yes, you're right. And thank you. I said, that's okay. How many of you remember I said to you, I try and write things every week? Because I know that your hand, that the weight of your handwriting, the pressure, tells a lot about whether you are ill or not. And if you are frail, you'll know this from your parents or whatever. If you're frail, your writing will, I'm exaggerating this, but your writing will start to have, squiggles, what do you call it, tremors almost in it. But if you are very fit and well, you'll be able to write like this, no problem. But it's interesting that the other thing is, if you're watching somebody write, people who are not well write far more slowly. And the writing is very light on the paper. Yes, Jeannie's saying, once a teenager came by and I told her she steals, and she was amazed that I knew. Good for you. And good for you in telling her that you knew. And that her handwriting doesn't lie. She probably went home and changed her signature, by the way. Arthur Ashe, tennis player, said, one important key to success is self-confidence. Again, right? An important key to self-confidence is preparation. How many of you know, I read that letter, and the first thing I did was not to react to the person who wrote it. The first thing I did was to say, this is so wrong. I could be wrong, but I believe this to be so wrong, it's not even funny. It's legally wrong and it's morally wrong. And therefore, number one, let me check whether I'm not the only one that thinks that. And I didn't go to a lawyer first. I went to people I know have got more than 2 brain cells running around, and they all reacted the same way. And then I went, okay, now I need the legals. Then I'm going to confront the person with the legals, which I know they will probably ignore. But I have already sent that letter to the governing body to say, you need to know this is happening. So really important. Jody's saying, I've noticed in the past few years, my writing is changing because of how I need to hold a pen, because of my arthritis and hand deformity. Absolutely. But Jody, be aware that you can have an equally wonderful signature, all right, with that. The only thing is, be true to yourself. In other words, if you used to have this wonderful open type, and you can't do that anymore, do the best signature you can with what you have. Does that make sense? And make it strong. Be as strong as you are within this parameter. That's what I would recommend. Don't try and have the signature you used to be, and make sure you tell your bank, this is your current signature, right? So that they don't, send back a check or something because the signature doesn't look right. It looks like it might have been forged or something. Make sure that your bank knows this is your current signature. In fact, probably go to the bank and do it in front of somebody. Yeah. Also, if you have a lawyer, make sure your lawyer has it as well. Would be my recommendation. By the way, banks are not nearly as smart as you think they are. They sent me a legal document to sign not so long ago, and I said, for a legal document, don't you need all my legal names? Because I got a slew of them, And I went, what? And I said, you sent me a document, a legal document, but you only have Sally as my name and then my last name. And he said, you're absolutely right. And by the way, the bank has it on file that your name is Sally, da 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 da, whatever, and known as just the two names, Sally and my last name. And I went, oh, okay. So I'm an AKA, which means that I can legally have that on a document. Apparently. I gotta double check that because I don't know about you, but in my legal documents, I like to have all my names on there. It's like, don't mix me up with any other one. I am unique because I got this slew of names. So tell me something. Those of you who are in the chat right now, what do you think is let me ask you a different way. How can you tell if you're losing confidence? It happens to us all. What do you notice goes missing when you're starting to not trust yourself as much? Because isn't that what having self-confidence is? That you trust you're not stupid, that you trust that you are talented, that you trust that you can take things dying as well as you can take things living. That you can see joy when there isn't any. What is it that starts to shift when you're losing confidence? And the reason I ask you that is because if you can know what it is that starts to shift, then you can concentrate on doing that first thing every morning. For example, you've heard me say many times, if I'm starting to get depressed in any way, I don't mean clinically, whatever, I notice I don't follow through. I'll start cleaning up the bathroom, but I don't finish it. And my kitchen will be an absolute mess. Jeannie's saying, thanks for the input, Jeannie. I begin to feel bad inside. Yes, right? You do. You don't. And so the quicker you can resolve that, Jeannie, the quicker you will be back to full confidence again. The sooner I check, hang on a second, the kitchen is looking like a nightmare. Luckily, the good news is I do make sure I really tidy up the kitchen, obviously twice a week when I do the broadcast. And I'm very grateful for that. Thank you, guys. Jody's saying, when I'm lacking in confidence, I tend to hold back a little bit in conversations. I second guess myself, wondering if I have anything of value to contribute to the conversation. I'm certain a lot of people relate to that. Jody and I have spent time, talking with Lauren in Tasmania. And we've noticed that Lauren, when she doesn't think she's done very well in her university class or course or exam, she withdraws. All right. Now, we know the pattern now. We've seen it so many times. And the funny thing is, now we call her on it. We don't let her dwell in it anymore. We now go, notice that you didn't check in yesterday. Did something go wrong at university? Or was there an exam? Or, whatever. Because we know that's the only... Jody, would that be fair? She only withdraws like that when she feels she hasn't done well at something. And Jeannie's saying, oh, Jody, you say many wonderful things and I've learned so much from you. Yes, exactly. Jody is well worth listening to. I've learned so much from her. Got shaped back because of Jody. All right? Why? She taught me how to eat better. Bit by bit. Bit by bit. And by the way, I had a carb day this week. It was such fun. But and then I confessed it to Jody that I'd had a carb day, and she said, you are allowed to live. And you know what I had for dinner last night? Because I was on a comfort food thing. I made fries last night, but I made them in the air fryer. I didn't do them in deep oil or anything. I just literally put them in a bag, spritz a little bit of oil in there, rubbed all the fries around so they, with black pepper and stuff. And then I did them in the air fryer. I had a whole potato. Normally, a whole potato will last me all week through different ways, right? And I had a whole potato made into fries, and it wasn't a small one. It was that size. Now, normally I would have at least 3 meals. If I wanted potatoes, I would probably have 1/3, and then another day, another third. I had the whole thing. And they were so good. And yes, I did dunk them in ketchup. When was the last time I had ketchup? And it's okay, because Jody told me I'm allowed to live. This is DearMamaSal saying, self-confidence is something you build every day. And it's something you will lose if you don't keep working at it. If you don't keep having the affirmation, if you don't keep telling yourself you are okay. And by the way, if you don't prove to yourself that you are not stupid, the person who wrote to you is the one that is stupid. All right? And, you don't have to do things out of revenge. I tried to teach this person a year ago that what she was saying was wrong, and she refused to listen to me. And has now turned me into the enemy for some reason. That's fine. She has no idea what she's dealing with, because now she's got me more than a little bit upset. And now she is not only going to learn the lesson, it's going to hurt. Why? Because I won't be telling her. Legal people will. And if I don't get a written apology, she is in for even more trouble. Why? I deserve one. I know that. And being who I am, I will probably get it. Because when I tell her that, she's going to know I mean it. You have a choice now. You can write me a written apology, or I can go to my lawyer. Which would you prefer? And by the way, if I go to my lawyer, I'll be going after costs. I'll be going after this. I'll be going after this as well. Your choice. Do you have the character to apologize in writing, so I know you meant it? And I have proof that you were wrong and had no right to say what you said. That will be the determining factor for me. A year ago, you could have just changed your behavior, but now I want it in writing, that you know the difference. This is DearMamaSal saying, how many of you can feel that I'm feel, how many of you, how many of you can feel that that's what I mean? Jeannie, you're so right. Jeannie's saying, sad to say this woman seems to lack character. And quite honestly, shouldn't have the job that she has if she doesn't know the definition of these two words and writes legal contracts with those two words in them. Scary stuff. And that's why I'm taking it to the association. Because as an association person, if you know what I mean, under that umbrella, that person should not be allowed to have that job. Or they need to learn in a hurry. I am not a vindictive person, but push me too far, and then I start not being such a nice person. I'm not trying to be nasty. I'm trying to go, you are doing something very wrong, and you need to know it and understand it and apologize to all these people that you wrote this letter to. Because I wasn't the only one that got it. I am sure of that. So anyway, here we go. This is DearMamaSal saying, I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope you put a flower in your bathroom or, in your bedroom so you wake up to something pretty. I hope that you put an affirmation up on your mirror in your bathroom that says, I can do one very small little spring cleaning job today. I can. if I want to. And if I don't do it, I'm letting myself down. Or I can spring clean one room, this month. Don't overwhelm. Just work your way very quietly around the room and see how you do. Have a wonderful week, everybody. We'll see you on Friday. This is Dear Mama Sal saying I love you dearly. And I was so touched that both Amber and Sandy popped in to say hello. Again, I still got tears in my eyes on this one. Wasn't that just too amazing? Jody, thank you for looking after me the way that you do when you are busy testing yourself for COVID. It's just like, really, I am so blessed, aren't I? Bye, everybody. We'll see you on Friday.